Hey Joel, I thought I'd run through some of these assessment points here to give you an idea of what I'm looking at here. So, looking head on, one of the things we're looking for, we're going to look at the knees, right? Knees and feet. Want to see if the knees move in or push out, right? Or if the feet roll in or roll out. Looking head on here, they look pretty good actually. When we get to the back row, it'll change a little bit, but head on though, they're looking pretty good. You can tell they've had some training in the past to get in these positions. Okay, one note about the position you're looking at here regarding the knees and the feet. You're going to notice some of the girls here have a greater distance between their legs, right? Some legs are closer in, some are further apart. That's not good or bad. What we're looking for is the alignment. Do the knees drop in line with the feet, and are the feet pointing in the same direction, right? That's just based on their hips and their anatomy, okay? So if the knees are drawn in and the feet are turned out or rolling in, now we have a mechanical deviation, and that's a problem to be addressed. What we're looking at here head on pretty much is just fine, even though visually some have wider gap between their legs and some a smaller gap. Now moving over to profile, check out the side view here, right? We get to look at the arm positions and the back positions. Make sure that they're not leaning too far forward, right, from the waist, and also make sure that their arms can be held up overhead by their ears and straight. Okay? Some of them do okay. You're going to have a clump over here when we get around to the other side that are going to be kind of a mess. The exception here would be Kaimara's arms. You can tell the difference between her position and the athletes around her. This would be a positive restriction. The other thing I want to draw your attention to at the other arrow is Allie, okay, her foot position. You see how she lifts the heel on the right side? That's a positive restriction in the calf. I suggest it's a problem because of the posterior tibial tendonitis that she's been diagnosed with. I suspect what she probably does is she tries to take the weight off of that side and puts it on the left side. What that means is the left side, the hip, the ankle, the knees, they have to do more than their fair share of the work when she's using her body. So this would also fall in the positive restriction category. When we go to the back, we're going to have an opportunity to also take a look at their general squat position, looking at the feet, ankles, and the knees, and their arm position again. Okay, so I'm freezing here on Claire because this is kind of where the mess begins, all right? You can check out our arm position here. Elbows are bent way forward, not able to maintain the position. Also, check out her feet and her knees, all right? There needs to be some separation between the legs for there to be any kind of decent power or mechanical leverage, and it's just a very weak squat position she presents with here. Okay, and as we make our way around to the back now, we're going to freeze again, and I want you to draw your attention to Mari's arms, Hannah's arms, Lauren Lee's arms, and Alice's arms. They all have gotten fatigued in the shoulders, neck, and they've started to bend those elbows and move the arms forward, trying to decrease the load through their upper back and neck. Also, check out Mari's foot, or her feet actually, both of them. Her heels are lifted. That means she's putting the weight on the balls of her feet and is changing the mechanics of her squat position, which would be a positive restriction for the calves. And here we'll just finish up with a second profile view, reinforcing what we've already seen, and this will end our squat assessment. Moving on to our push-up assessment. The goal here is a rigid body position. Everything should start and stop at the same time. No breaks in the body at all. Pretty much Michelle and Holly rock this out pretty well. Roxanne does a good job too. Allie does a pretty good job as well. Okay. From here, we're going to freeze this now and give you an opportunity to check out all the segmented positions here. Pretty much, if I see the head dropping down, if I see the hips drop down, if I see arching in the low back, these are all positive restrictions. Again, you check out Michelle's position. She's rock solid. Everything is level in line from her heels all the way through her head. In the back, Roxanne also has a really good body position, and Allie next to Michelle isn't bad as well. Over in the far right in front, Taya, I don't know if you noticed, if you back up the video a bit, Taya has yet to do one at all, actually. She's pretty restricted all the way around. Okay, and here I'm having the girls hold a front support position, right? And what I'm going to look for are the shoulder blades. And I want to make sure the shoulder blades kind of smoothly are pressed against their back. that they're not winging up, pointing up towards the ceiling. An indication that the serratus anterior muscle, if you reach your hand under your armpit and right on the side of your rib cage, it's one of the muscles that has to stabilize your shoulder blades so you can push. Without it, your pushing muscles can't push as well. An example of what I'm talking about is here, okay? This obviously is not one of your athletes, but another athlete here. And his shoulder blades are winging up, pushing up, pointing towards the ceiling, right? Indicating that serratus anterior muscle cannot do its job to keep the shoulder blades laying flat across the back so you can maximize your pushing. And this is a large restriction. Your girls do not have this issue. Moving on to our dynamic lunge. We're looking for here are, do the knees move in and out? Do the hips shift side to side? Does the trunk shift side to side? Do the feet roll in or out, right? And also generally, check out all your athletes here. Do they generally lose their balance? Is there general instability and shakiness, right? Are there breaks in the mechanical chain as they go through the range of motion? And that's what we're looking for here. Reason being that we're trying to get the nervous system to communicate its messages to all the working parts of the body. We also need those working parts of the body to receive those messages, understand them clearly, and apply them to movement, right? The better able your nervous system is to communicate those messages and have your body receive them, the better able you are to apply it to dynamic movement. And that means real-time, full speed game conditions, right? If you can't do it slow, there's no way you can do it under game or practice conditions, at least not with maximum efficiency and development. And our profile gives us an opportunity to also take a look at the front foot position to see if they're going on the balls of the feet and the heels are lifting up. Most of your girls here do a pretty good job with that. And every once in a while we see a break in the chain. And here we're looking at our trunk extension assessment. And these muscles basically oppose the abdominals. The abdominals flex the trunk, bring it forward. The extensors extend the trunk, bring it back. Pretty much the only three that struggled with this were Claire, Emily, and Nora. The rest did a pretty good job. And for these three, well, we'll be working on that. And here we have our trunk curl assessment, the goal of which is to be able to peel your shoulders, shoulder blades, and maybe to middle back off of the floor, right? Pretty good here. We're going to do these just as stills because it's easier to show that way since there's really no movement involved. But Leanne is the one that seems to struggle here. You see, she can get her head up, but shoulders are pretty much down. Shoulder blades certainly are not off the floor. And this is something that we need to address. And by the way, this is the precursor to being able to do a sit-up and full trunk flexion. So if you can't do this, you can't really access your trunk flexor muscles as well. Okay, next line here. Hannah does a pretty good job. Alice does okay. It's a little hard to tell through her shirt here, but I think she does probably marginally well. However, Emily is down pretty low. She doesn't meet the minimum requirements here. Next row, okay. Allie, just fine. Mari's up actually too high. Not a problem. She would just need to be brought down. But if she can get up this far, she's fine. However, Claire and Lindsay both are marginal. And our last group here. All right, Taya's pretty good in this position. Roxanne's up too high. I brought her down further into the video, so she did fine here. Holly is marginal. And Kaimara, she did pretty good. Yeah, she's up just fine. Holly here you get a better view of. Really just marginal, kind of like Claire. And this will end trunk curl assessment. And in our sit-up assessment, we're looking for hands kept behind the head without the legs popping up too much off the floor, and this gives us 100% abdominal strength. There are 4 girls here who struggle. Emily in back here, although she keeps her hands back, she has to kind of bob up and down to get up. Hannah and Alice here, they both have to throw their arms forward along with Claire in back. trying to gain a mechanical advantage. So the 4 of them don't have quite 100% capacity that we're looking for in the abs, and we'll take care of that. So this sit-up test is considered an 80% capacity position by crossing the arms over the chest, right? And check out the same 4 girls, Emily, Alice, Hannah. They all have to push their arms forward to gain a mechanical assist here. And Claire in back, check her out. She's got to throw her arms forward, kind of pump them twice, bend her knees to leverage herself up. So even at the 80% test position, these 4 girls don't demonstrate even 80% capacity. So I'm primarily testing 3 things in this position: middle and lower trapezius and the external rotator cuff muscles of the rotator cuff. All right, if we look at Michelle as an example of what it should look like here, and we can kind of match her position against everyone else's, it gives us a good yardstick to measure everyone else's position here. We can see Hannah struggles here a bit, Claire in back really struggles. And for the most part, a lot of these other girls do a pretty good job. Some of them have modified by lowering their arms a bit, which is okay too. It's still a valid test. Taya here gets fatigued pretty quickly. And Nora actually will end up getting fatigued in just a couple moments here too. But in terms of being able to hit the position pretty well, pretty good for most of them. In terms of endurance and stamina, we got to bump that up a little bit. Hey Joel, so I hope this gives you a little bit of insight into the assessments process and the thinking behind it. And now we'll end with a little bit of nonsense.
Cause that's the